Hi, everyone, and welcome to our special election series, The Dhabas of Democracy. As you can see, bol bol ki awaaz chali gayi hai, but that's what happens in election season and not just to politicians. Our road trip that began in Kanyakumari has now reached Telangana. You can also see how the landscape behind me has changed from lush green forest to the more barren and sandy Deccan sort of heart of India, as it were. Phase two is underway. Phase two of this election is almost over. We now have some perspective on what the picture looks like in the war of narratives between Prime Minister Modi versus the opposition. And there's a lot to talk about, including a big debate around the turnout, especially in phase one. Health warning, the turnout figures for phase two are only available till 3 p.m., and we are awaiting more details. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. In a moment from now, a leading psephologist of Sea Water, our favorite in political analyst Yashwant Deshmukh, will be joining us. But as I said, Karnataka, large parts of Karnataka and Kerala have voted today. 88 constituencies have voted till 3 p.m. The turnout was 50%. The highest turnout was recorded in Tripura, and the lowest turnout was recorded in Maharashtra. In fact, at this moment, we're on the highway outside of Hyderabad, headed towards Maharashtra, and Maharashtra is going to be a very, very interesting story. Yashwant Deshmukh has been calling Maharashtra and Bengal the most sort of, in a way, intriguing electoral contest of this election. And on that note, let's introduce Yashwant as we look at how things stack up. Let's bring up our newsmaker on the program. There he is. Namaskar. Good to see you, Yashwant. And we're here out in the field, really picking up very interesting voices from the ground that we'll talk a little bit about. But let me ask you to give us first the big picture. We're almost at the end of voting of phase two. How are things looking? Are there any surprises? And I want to remind you that when we last spoke, I was in Tamil Nadu when we were last doing a one-on-one, and आपने उस समय बोला कि some things to watch out for, long weekends, बहुत गर्मी है. Will the BJP voters start taking Modi's win for granted and say, चलो हम क्यों निकले? Some of those things are now being debated. What's the big picture, Yashwant?
Is that Varka that the final figures of the phase one were eventually 4% less than the 2019 numbers, which is a drop, but not the kind of alarming drop that most of us were really, started to see in that way that 2004. Because every time we kind of go back to data, somehow 2004 comes up on our mind that ऐसा तो नहीं कि कुछ सोच रहे हैं, कुछ डेटा आ रहा है और हो तो कुछ और गया. So 2004 it was an 18% drop in the urban seats all across India. So that was a very alarming drop. So from that perspective, 4% is a drop, but not that kind of alarming drop. Number one. Number two, the numbers that for the second phase, Barka, that we are looking at till 3 o'clock, it's almost like 50% till 5, if I'm not wrong. Uh, it should be another by 5 o'clock. The data would come in, it would be touching 60%, and most often than not, then the remaining time till the polling gets over. Because please remember, officially the polling gets over at certain time, but the people who are standing in the queue, election commission does provide them slip and guarantee them to vote, and many a times polling goes on till almost like 10:30 in the night. So I believe that another 5% in that. So if I'm not wrong, I mean, just going by a ballpark numbers, I believe this phase would be almost at par with the first phase, or maybe a percent or two better than the first phase. If I just do the extrapolation of 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock numbers and compare it to the phase one and how it is looking. So that's where it stands. No doubt, the first phase was a bit dampener in terms of turnout, but let's see how the final numbers figure out at this point of time. Very healthy 70% plus in many of the states where it should cross 80% ideally, and that's a brilliant number. And just before coming on the show, I was talking to my colleague Rahul Verma, who is not just a fellow of Seawater Foundation but also a fellow of CPR. And he said to me that, are we expecting a bit too much, Yashwant Bhai? Because, there is only a limit that the turnout can go up. In 2014 it went up further in 2019. And are we kind of expecting a bit too much? And I was kind of taken aback, because that's also true, Baka. When you compare our turnout with all the Western democracies, we have to realize that we even the lower turnout in India happens to be better than the best of the democracies that we compare them with, in terms of voters participation. So so let's be kind to ourselves, and wait for the final numbers, and then look into where exactly is there something alarming. Is there a secular trend of phase 1 and phase 2 in urban, rural, semi-urban segments, how the turnout is coming out, and whether we should really be alarmed? Because I'm sure you are on the field, you are on the trip, and all the stories that you are reporting, I can see a pretty interesting and pretty too much of excitement in the air, where all the voters that you, they're not much of tamasha on the roadside. I understand that, but whenever you are interviewing people, I see people are excited about answering you. And same is with our has been with our surveys and omnibus and the trackers. People have been excited in telling what they want to do. So I will wait for the final figures from the election commission before making any observation on that.
And I should add that the turnout figures we have for phase two are 88 seats in this phase compared to 102, I think, in the last phase. So it's not exactly apples for apples and oranges for oranges. But
Right.
Yashwant, one of the interesting things, and again, we need more clarity. Turnout takes a long time to be computed. So, with all of those caveats, Tripura, Manipur, West Bengal, high turnout so far, 3 p.m.
Right.
Maharashtra, not so high. And Maharashtra is a mess in the sense that very hard to read, very hard to poll because you have two old parties, original Shiv Sena, original NCP, both split in alliance with the BJP, and a kind of complete confusion possibly in the worker cadre and maybe even among voters. Modi factor, if it works, will need to transcend all of these fault lines. You've been calling Maharashtra the mother of all battles along with West Bengal. I don't want to make too much about turnout, but Maharashtra has the lowest turnout of all states today so far. Could pick up later. Any thoughts on that?
Well, it's so much contrasting than the West Bengal. You see, when I said that West Bengal and Maharashtra are the two states actually where one has to be in, deep neck into the data to understand what's going on. And if you look into the turnout, they seem like contrast with the, Maharashtra on one end and West Bengal on the other end. So, uh, I first of all, I don't blame the voters in Maharashtra, because I guess that every voter of every party has been cheated in the last couple of years. Not a single party can say that, we stood by the moral ground and we did not ditch our own voters where they voted for in the last elections to them. So there could be a collective sign of apathy, whatever the state politics is going through. That could be one of the reasons that their turnout has gone down. uh, in West Bengal, however, the turnout seems so far very healthy. That means we are gonna see hell of a contest on each and every seat. That's a taken. Uh, Somehow in the numbers, I also saw Manipur, and that was very heartening.
We
Honestly
we should talk
speaking,
we should talk about
uh,
that. I want to go to the east because
yeah,
Manipur has been through hell, and to see that
exactly,
people are still, so invested in the democratic process, that's something very moving.
exactly, and this turnout is actually good for inner and outer Manipur both. I mean that way. So. What Manipur tells us is a very clear indication that no matter what the problems, no matter what the struggle, no matter what the conflict is, if given a chance, people would still like uh, to decide using the ballots, not the bullets. Simple, it's for the people who win, who form the government, for those who form the policies. It's for them to figure it out, how to use that ballot, that mandate, to come to some kind of a negotiated solution, peaceful solution, long lasting peaceful solution. But as far as voters are concerned, there cannot be a bigger mandate than the terms of turnout. Voters can simply go out and vote. if the policymakers or the courts, for that matter, I would not hesitate in naming even the courts, because we have seen sometimes the decisions or lack of decision or the delayed decisions has proven to be a havoc in the public life on so many cases. So public of Manipur, people of Manipur, I am really really grateful to them. That's one state I really was very keen to see a good turnout. It's a good message to everybody in India and outside India as well, that in India there are conflicts, there are friction, but we know how to use our ballot to overcome those frictions, and that's the bottom line, and that's the headline for
Yeah.
me today, Barka.
And for me too. Ballots, not bullets in Manipur, I think is a very moving testimony to our democracy. Now, so much discussion on relative drop in turnout in phase one. How do you look at these numbers? This is turnout by 5 p.m. in Bengal. It's very interesting. There are comments in
It's
our audience stream saying, oh, does it mean anti incumbency? But that's a very old way of thinking
Yeah,
about high
yeah,
voter turnout.
yes.
Go ahead. What do you think?
So first of all, let me tell the viewers that there is no thumb rule whatsoever of a turnout indicting anti or pro incumbency factor or verdict. We have seen way too many low turnout going pro incumbent, anti incumbent, and same goes with the high turnout elections. What remains to be seen is that unlike Maharashtra, if West Bengal has come out big in big numbers, number one, it has gone in multiple phases, so that we can see that in every phase only couple of seats of West Bengal are going into elections. That actually opens up the possibility of very good law and order scenario as far as the central paramilitary forces are concerned, and that could be one of the big factors for increasing people's confidence, because in a state which is highly sensitive in terms of political polarization and has a history of political violence for decades, that becomes an important factor, because we know political violence is not just about increasing your turnout, it is also about decreasing others turnout. So I would say this kind of turnout simply says everybody has come out. It's not just a one way ticket towards this way or that way. And we are likely to see a very good contest on each and every seat. And we will know from the data. We will be here discussing with you the exit poll results, in June 1st, when the last phase gets over.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, nice to see, nice to know. No reports of violence, too much violence anywhere. I mean, of course, sporadic incidents are going to be reported, but so far, touchwood, no reports of any large scale violence that the panchayat election in Bengal had seen. So I hope this entire thing goes off peacefully over there.
Well said. One more question on the turnout of phase one, and then we look ahead. Indian Express had a very interesting opinion piece by Shreyas Sardesai and Rahul Shastri. And they argued that the decline in phase one, ye jo bhi hai 4%, little over 4%, this is highest in Hindi speaking states, point one. And they identified certain areas, I think Ganganagar, Jhunjhunu, where they linked or extrapolated the higher than average drop with issues like farmer protests, Agnipath, and so on. Is that how do you see that as a link that you agree with, or you don't really agree with it?
I can't agree or disagree at this point of time, Barka, because we have to wait for the results to look into the retrospectively how it has worked out in that way. Because I know for sure that low turnout plenty of the time works even for parties who have a very good cadre movement, very good mobilization on the ground. It works for them, because opposition vote is not that excited or is not coming out, and they in a low turnout they have a better relative turnout. And but at the same time, there could be some really genuine local issues as such, which is possible. And I am not saying no to that for a simple reason that when we discuss the split vote, Pakha, say for example in Delhi or in Rajasthan or in any other state, From Vidhan Sabha to Lok Sabha, we have seen a almost 20-25% vote block swinging this and that way. But from Vidhan Sabha to Vidhan Sabha and Lok Sabha to Lok Sabha, not much swing takes place, in the type of election, because the way it is polarized, that it is very unlikely for a pro Modi voter to turn anti Modi overnight, or anti Modi voter to turn pro Modi overnight. However, it impacts in a different way. Many of the times when people are upset, rather than swinging to the other party, they simply sit at home. And that is something which can bother BJP in couple of the seats, particularly where the local factors, local agitation, local caste frictions, caste driven frictions, they are being reported. That could be some point of concern for the BJP in those seats. But having said that, all those seats, couple of here, couple of there, they remain largely an aberration of sort. When I say aberration, they are not statewide phenomenons. So I know whenever we have been discussing, even in the pre-poll trackers, plenty of the people saying, you have given 25 out of 25 earlier. I say, well, we have given 39 out of 39 to the DMK alliance as well. So it's the same rule and same formula that we work on in every state. So few seats in Madhya Pradesh, few seats in Rajasthan, where the Congress or the opposition gets in good fight because of the local issues, local trends, are as good as an aberration as BJP contesting really nicely in few seats in Tamil Nadu, a few seats in Kerala, for that matter. So we will know. I'm not denying that these seats are not having a good contest. I'm not denying the possibility of opposition winning these seats, BJP getting into trouble. I'm also not denying the possibility of a low turnout, but BJP's resource and the cadres making a better use of that low turnout rather than the opposition. So all these possibilities are wide open over there.
In the meantime, talking about the sounds of democracy, there's a huge open vehicle behind me blaring with music and slogans. So I'm going to have to speak a little louder than I'm used to. Let's look ahead. Is the Ram Mandir less of an electoral issue than everybody thought? Now, my view on this is a little colored because my travels so far have been through peninsular India, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, now Telangana. But Yashwant, I found something very interesting here, and I'll play out a little clip for you also. I met fans of Prime Minister Modi. They're going to vote BJP, but not because of the Mandir. They say we welcome the Mandir, वो ठीक है. But because of India, I said आपको सबसे अच्छा क्या लगा? अरे इंडिया की जिस तरह image, the way India's image is improved in the world. Do you believe the Mandir has been less of an electoral issue than most people thought, or did it peak too early in this election season?
I think the Mandir forms a base of the BJP's electoral pyramid. You cannot count on it, you cannot take it away. Both ways, it cannot be said that it is the winning tip of the BJP. No. But if you take that base away, BJP is nowhere. It's also the truth that if you take the bottom of the pyramid, put out, the pyramid becomes smaller. So that's a very awkward scenario. But as far as the BJP's electoral machinery is concerned, their core support base remains in Hindutva. Then to add on that, there is a development agenda to that. And to cap it all, the topmost cone is of the popularity of the prime minister. That's how it's stacked. If you look into the BJP's voting pyramid, one strange thing, what is missing in this pyramid is, of course, the stature of the local candidates or local leaders. That's entirely missing, barring two states, Uttar Pradesh and Assam, Himanta Biswa Sarma and Yogi Adityanath, where they also added their layer for that BJP pyramid, to stack it higher. Uh, Beyond that, has it delivered some new areas to BJP? I doubt that. Has it delivered, opened up gates into greenfield states? If as we discuss them, I doubt that. But it's a critical, important part for them to deliver. Same goes with the 370. Same goes with the triple talaq, and same as and when it happens, the common civil code. They all belong to the same base of that pyramid, common base, where they need to hammer it down that, okay, this is where we are coming from, this is what defines us, and this is where you have been supporting us. By the way, this is the same base, Barkha, which stood by them even in 1984 when they got only 2 seats. You know, but still they polled 8% plus votes, and they were the second largest party after the Congress in India in 1984. So if you look into the electoral history and trend line, you will see that this is the 10% odd vote which you can say is the base of the BJP, and these pointers are extremely important for that particular base. And also very important to understand, it is the same base which works as the election machinery on a polling day. It is the same base which stands on the polling as a polling agent, which works on the mohalla to mohalla, village to village campaign to pull the people out and take it to the polling booth. So for them, it is critical to maintain that base. And that's why I have never taken the Ram Temple issue or a euphoria around that. It is something which is going to add on something for the BJP. It will only it will only maintain that base. It's like they have done this fixed deposit, which they are going to redo when the fixed deposit is term is getting over. They are going to reinvest in the same fixed deposit again.
I like this idea of this phrase, Ram Mandir is like a fixed deposit for the BJP. But I'm going to play out two short voter voices from the ground. Both of these are from Bangalore, which is voted today. And, our show is called Dhabas of Democracy, so we eat a lot of good food. One of the perks of being on the field. I asked a BJP voter one thing you love about Modi and one thing you want him to do differently. And on the love, again, single minded focus, hard work, India's place in the world, development. But here's what he said on what he would like to see change. Listen. One thing you like about his government and one thing you don't like.
One thing I don't like is the tendency towards the religion thoughts.
Religious divide.
Device.
Very interesting. He says one thing he likes Modi, he likes the Modi government, but he doesn't like the religious divide.
Yeah,
and one thing you like, and one thing you like.
One thing I like is it's not one thing I can say, madam.
So you like?
Yeah, I like.
So you like
all the other actions. I
So
love.
is it fair to say that you love many things about the Modi government,
Yes.
but you don't like the religious politics?
Religious politics I don't like.
Very important. For those who think Hindutva is getting the BJP votes, Hindutva doesn't matter to you.
Here I don't say that.
But you don't
as
like
such,
a divide.
I don't like to divide.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Well said.
Hindutva definitely matters to us. But no difference.
Hindutva matters, but not religious divide.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Very interesting.
Hindutva matters, but not religious polarization, not
Yeah.
religious divisions.
It's brilliant, and I can tell you, Aditi, that I can tell you, Barkha, that that in our trackers, and we have been interviewing thousands and thousands on a daily basis. And when I talk to my researchers, I listen to the interviews plenty of the times, and I see this thing resonated across India. People like pro Hindutva, but that doesn't mean that big number of them like anti-Muslim bashing or that kind of agenda. Yes, there is a extreme right, that side of the scale, which likes that as well. But I believe that overwhelming majority of the BJP supporters in the more than that base, in the pyramid, they like the idea of Hindutva. They like the idea of Hindutva assertion driven politics, but they also feel assertive Hindutva need not be Islamophobic in terms of narrative, and that's a huge silent majority of the BJP voters. Now, if the BJP leadership can understand this, it's well enough. Somehow, there are reasons for them to believe that something gets charged up when they are moving on that kind of charging speech and charging narrative and charging campaign. Uh, I understand where they are coming from, but they also need to understand this change of guard, change of the way India looks. Not everybody who likes Ayodhya temple, likes the way plenty of the BJP leaders talk about the polarizing, religious polarization politics.
Sorry. There's a question from you from one of our Mojo members, Prasad Duburi, very regular member. Barkha, Yashwant's data might vouch for this. In the South, religion card will not work. That's why South has had very few religious riots. Politicians cannot engineer such riots in the South. What do you say, Yashwant?
Well, I would say the data vouches for even for the North. I mean, I think, I'm sorry, Prasadji, but you are categorizing North in a very different way. And I'm telling you, the data tells it that Uttar Pradesh gave the mandate to the BJP and including Yogi Adityanath largely on the issue of development. UP voted in Adityanath not because bulldozer Baba of bulldozer going and working on Muslim households or Muslim shops. It's because they looked into the law and order, toilets that were made, and because of the toilets, females in the rural, particularly rural areas, they were saved from the sexual crimes that majority of them happened when they used to go into the fields in wee early morning hours or after the darkness in the evening. So toilets were a law and order issue. So even the people in the north largely voted for the BJP on the developmental agenda. And it's not just about that extreme right happens only in the north, it happens in the south as well. We have seen enough examples of that. Polarization on that. Most foul mouthed campaigners undoubtedly these days are coming from the south, this way or that way. I don't want to name, but you can go into that thing, dig it out. And so it's not about north and south. I don't take it, I'm sorry. But yes, I agree with one thing, that people at large would be happy to vote on the developmental agenda,
But,
would be
but
happy to vote on the real issues.
But Yashwant, I will share based on my travels so far that in these states, when I would ask them, why are you going to vote Modi? They would not mention the Mandir. The Mandir came up in conversation when I prompted it. And I'll play just another short clip for you. Again of a Modi voter, again of a BJP voter. Listen.
Is Ram Mandir an issue?
Perhaps to some, not to everybody,
Is it to you?
to a certain extent.
What is the most important issue then
For these elections,
for you as a voter?
for me as a voter, definitely each person, wherever he is living, should take pride in what is happening around him and the safety of it. Irrespective of whether the local government is a double engine sarkar or a different one, people should feel safe. And development should be there, and no politics should be there if it is a different government in the center and different in
So
the
the
state.
Congress did quite well here in the assembly, and people voted one way in the assembly, one way maybe in the national, we don't know, but the Congress is hoping to repeat some success.
Definitely, everyone is hopeful of doing better this time.
But are you a Modi fan?
Personally, yes.
Firstly, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
These are some of the things, right? They're very interesting. They say, yes, Ram Mandir, but that's not the reason. We should all take pride. It's about the country. What do you make of it?
Well, first of all, you went to Vidyarthi Bhavan, and that kind of inserted a craving of dosa
Oh
over
my
there.
God.
Like, my God,
And do you
that's the
know,
best
do you
ever
know,
dosa I've ever had in my life.
and,
It's
and
amazing.
Yashwant, in Vidyarthi Bhavan, every table orders the same. Butter, masala, dosa.
Yeah, and
Butter,
you should
masala,
see the
dosa.
way they prepare it. It's
Amazing.
neat, clean, mechanical. I mean, the way they do it,
Amazing.
it's awesome. Anyways, coming back to the topic. Coming back to the topic. Yeah, I mean, I agree. You see, everybody has been saying Ayodhya is an issue, but it's not the deciding factor. You see, when you talk to the other person, he said that it's not that Hindutva is a non-issue. He doesn't like Muslim bashing. This guy says Hindutva is an issue, but I like to see the development, no friction between state and the central government just because Karnataka has voted a Congress government in, and so on and so forth. So, as I said, that Hindutva politics of the BJP has an identity in the base, the way it attracts. But a big number of their supporters also feel that just because you are believing in a Hindutva doesn't mean that you have to be bashing the other community, you have to be polarizing that in that way. For them, the brand Modi is more about development, about the future, about the optimism, about the things that are being done and things that are they feel are supposed to be done. So that way, I think, and to be fair, Barkha, sometimes I was listening to another colleague of mine, and he said, "Sir, ये भी तो है ना, Mr. Modi says 10 things, but media picks up that one thing. 9 things which he talks about it, we don't really discuss that. So is it not the fact that one line of Mr. Modi gets out of proportion, analysis and out of proportion dissection than it deserves, and rest of the 9 things are not really discussed that way because they are numbers, they are about the development and other things that are kind of boring to discuss. And I get that point, but it's election time. Let's face it. The things which are going to provide friction, Barkha, they are going to be talked more because it's about political polarization. People have to convince the others that okay, we are this and they are they, and you need to come with us in that way. So these are the weeks when these frictions, these fault lines will come to the fore. Politicians will remain politicians. For them, winning election matters the most important thing, and we have to look into that and from that angle as well.
Okay, finally, we have some updated turnout figures. As of 5 p.m., 61% now. The turnout has gone up. And we're again awaiting more details, more granular data. Yashwant, the last time I asked you, X factor क्या है? आपने कहा बहुत लंबा election है, गर्मी है, the BJP voter may take a victory for granted. अब 2 phases हो चुके हैं. Now let me ask you again, what is the X factor after 2 phases?
The X factor of these elections, Varka, are going to be female voters. And I'm still not getting any granular data so far yet, which will tell us what kind of female turnout we are witnessing. Is it at par with the males, or is it better or worse than the males? And I'm expecting it better than the males, to be better than the males, simply because not just the BJP, but even the opposition alliance partners have also come up with the promises or the things that they have done. For example, in Karnataka or even in Telangana, where you are entering, the Congress governments have actually, gone after schemes which could lure the female voters, going into that. So both the camps are actually trying their best to give something which the female voters would think about. And most of these things, by the way, you will realize that they are governance related. They are things which will make their lives better. So something tells me not just this election, but the elections which are coming in the future as well. India's turning point, democratically speaking, is the arrival of the female votes and hopefully the arrival of the female leaders, because they talk sense, they talk governance, they talk about the issues. They do not talk caste, they do not talk really religious polarization, and they do not get into that kind of debate. And this is something which, in your entire journey from south to the north, even in the Hindutva territory, when you go, you are likely to witness the same trend, that females are talking more about governance and less about communal or caste polarization. I think that is the X factor which is starting right now. Me and you are going to witness it in a probably a bit of a muted way, because it's not getting too much discussed in data at this point of time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
trust me, in the coming years, me and you are going to discuss this more and more, and for a better future of India.
Well, I can definitely endorse that. Whether it's women political leaders or women voters, their voices need to be heard and felt much more than they classically have been felt. And, one of the challenges in the field also is that a lot of these public spaces, the men overtake the conversation. It's very important to wait for granular data on what Indian women are thinking and feeling. Yashwant, always a pleasure. We're going to let you go now. We'll have you back after the next phase, I hope. Always learn so
Absolutely.
much from you. Thank you
You
so much,
travel
Yashwant.
safe. You travel safe, and
Thank you.
keep the antacids with you, because I know.
Totally. बहुत खा रहे हैं, बहुत ज्यादा खा रहे हैं. Thank you so much. Take
Thank
care,
you.
Yashwant.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye bye.
And that's it on another editions of Dhabas of Democracy. The sun has come down. You can barely see our vehicle behind us, but we are moving ahead from Kanyakumari all the way to Kashmir. If you aren't a member, do become a member of our community. We look forward to getting to know you better. The link is right here. Click on it. Become a Mojo member. See you tomorrow. Namaskar and hello everyone. Welcome to a ride through the heart and the soul of India. क्योंकि जब इलेक्शन सीजन आता है तो कौन जीता, कौन हारा, कौन आगे, कौन पीछे, ये बातचीत तो होती ही रहती है. But it's also a time for travel and meeting people and getting to know your own country better. So, welcome to the Dhabas of Democracy, where every bite tells a story, where every conversation will spice up your day. Experience the masala, the flavor, the swad of this election with us as we take a unique road trip from the south to the north of India, traveling thousands of kilometers to bring you the flavor of this election.
Elections sir par
We're at the Indian mainland's southernmost tip in Kanyakumari, the confluence of the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. It is from here that we are beginning our big road trip to the heart and the soul of India, Dhabas of Democracy. That's all about traveling thousands of kilometers to look at the food, the fun, the festivity, the flavors of this election, but also, of course, to tell the stories of you the people, of we the people. At Mojo Story, we have always gone to where the story is. It could be the battlefields of Israel and Gaza, it could be the conflict zone of Manipur, or it could be the sorrow and the tragedy of COVID. We think of all of you as members of our community, of our family. So, I'm urging you and requesting you today to help us tell your stories and our stories. So do become a Mojo member. Support and power our storytelling, but also get first access to our big interviews, our special ground reports, our town halls, and also have the opportunity to ask our newsmakers questions directly as well as get published on our platform. Become a Mojo member, click on the link below and see you soon.